going on there, but we're in.
Okay, we're going to go live on Facebook in a second. So I am doing that. Technology.
Oh no. I'm just going to close my Facebook down so we don't get any.
Oh yeah, you got to do that because it does feedback. So
Yeah.
I am going on the free group. Let's see how.
We get a pillow. Oh. I don't normally sit on this chair for an hour, so I'm just checking it's going to be comfy.
Yeah, just waiting. I've already linked it to Facebook, so it's just sort of just waiting for it to go live. Okay. And then we're kind of good to go.
Awesome.
So let's see what Facebook has for us. Are you going to rock and roll, Facebook? Is it doing it? Yes. Right. Okay. We're live. We're on Facebook. We are live. I'm going to put it on silent because I always get mega feedback, and then you're like, I don't know what's going on. But listen, Facebook, if you've got questions for us, then please ask away in the comments. So waiting for this to start. Let's start with you, Willow. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself, what you do, who you help, and then I'll do the same and we'll kind of get into this. Okay?
Okay, yeah. So first I just want to say grateful for you for this interview today. And so I'm Willow, and I absolutely love nature and animals and energy, and I work as an energy practitioner, a shaman, and also I mentor ladies who want to get their life back on track.
Fantastic. Are you still with me? Yes.
Yes.
So we know each other from another coaching program and learning how to market our businesses, and we've also now worked together, me coaching you and also you doing my chakra system and cleansing my energy. So I work with people who oh gosh, feedback. Right, come on, Facebook, stop. I help people to kind of gain clarity, to refocus and get out of that overwhelmed feeling. And I find that even with the kind of overwhelmed feeling, even when you're getting your goals, you still go into that panic mode. And it's just some really simple things of resetting your life, your routine, talking about what's coming up for you and letting it go, and then bringing in loads of more good energy.
Yeah.
So if we're can you tell me, like, why did you get into working with energy systems? Because you know you're would you class yourself as a shaman, or is that what you're working towards?
Yes. So it's interesting you say that, because looking back on all my journals and notes and things, I've been calling in being a shaman for a long time, and I actually believe we're all born shaman, we're all born gifted, and then it gets taken away. So having come full circle and always wanted to visit Machu Picchu and always been into energy and felt other people's energy, it just seemed the right thing to do.
Yeah.
Because people kept asking me, is it Reiki you do? And I'm like, no, it's my own thing. So it kind of felt right to get something that gave it a bit of a name so people could understand it.
Yes. Yeah. That's true. Because I believe the same thing, you know, that we're born into this world with so many gifts, and when we grow up or when, you know, we're in school and whatever else, it's often our gifts are often frowned upon, aren't they?
Yeah.
And yeah, and then we start to hide them, and we start to block them, don't we?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so tell us how the chakra, could you give like a brief overview on what on earth the chakra system is? Because
Yes.
many people might not have heard about it.
Of course, yeah. So within us are energy centers, and we have two that come out like a funnel, one at the top of the head and one down towards the ground. And then all our other energy centers flow forward and backwards out of the front of us and the back. And each individual energy center represents a different part of us. So it's our safety and our security, our emotions, our personal power, our love for self and others, our voice, our bigger picture, which is our third eye, and then our crown, which is our connection to our source, our creator, the divine, whatever people wish to call that.
Yes. That's beautiful. And what happens when you're out of balance, you're unaligned, your energy system is off kilter? What happens?
Well, all sorts of things can happen. So it kind of depends on which energy centre is disconnected and which one's thriving. So if I give an example for myself, I've always been a really, really grounded person, being a earth sign. And so I've always had my feet firmly on the ground, even though I've been a little bit woo as well and into the spiritual side of life. But back in 2015, I'd spent a lot of time in nature, and a lot of times trapped in my own mind and self-sabotaging thoughts. So what happened for me is I'd kind of detached from my emotions, detached from my lower chakras, detached from the earth somewhat, and gone a bit off woo. So it's really important that they're all smoothly running. And what happens for some of my clients is they may have a fantastic love life, an amazing partner, amazing family, really in charge of their emotions, but then they've got lack and scarcity in abundance, and maybe they're in debt and things like that. So they're the sort of things that can happen with people when they're not fully aligned.
Brilliant. I know when I've done kind of chakra testing and making sure like clients are aligned as well and things like that, I would test out my daughter, and really up until kind of she went to, it's going to sound terrible, up until she went to school, it all went to shit then. No, it didn't, but it kind of did. But before school, her chakras were always bang on aligned. And then when she went to school and life went a little bit off kilter for her, tested the chakra system again, offline, out of balance.
Yeah.
So, and how do you test? I test using a pendulum.
Pendulum, yes.
Or muscle testing. Do you do similar?
Yes, so when I do energy centers rebalance, I use a pendulum, and if I'm doing any shamanic work, I'd use a muscle test as well.
Brilliant.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying about your daughter, because my dogs, I test their chakras and they're always full in flow, because dogs don't really spend their time worrying about the past or worrying what's next.
No, they're in the now, aren't they? They're truly aligned. And that's what I feel. She was truly aligned and happy in all areas of her life. And then when she went into a school, she didn't feel 100% safe, probably. You know, and then it went out of alignment. So how did you start on this path?
Okay, so I guess back in 2006, I'm going to be really honest, I started on this path because of drugs. So I was a really open person before I did drugs. So you can imagine what happens when people do. So drugs for some people can close them down, and for some people it can open them up. And for me, it opened me wide open.
Yeah.
And I was beginning to feel and perceive other things about other people and channel information about them that they said, how on earth can you know this about me? And it really frightened me at first. So I spoke to my older sister about it, Helen, and she bought me some books. And once I started reading these books, it just seemed really obvious to me what all these energy centers were. So for me, the base chakra, when we've had a shock, we tend to say, oh, let's have a brandy or let's do something to bring us back to earth.
Yeah.
Then when we go for an interview or we go and do something new, like on a date, our belly starts to churn.
Yeah.
So they just made total sense. And then we get butterflies in the solar plexus when we're doing something new that is raising our power. And of course, the heartstrings pull. And then when we go to speak and we're nervous, our throat does something. And we quite often get headaches here as well when we can't see the bigger picture. So it just made absolute physical and spiritual sense to me all at once. So I started to really work with them myself, and I started to work with my friends doing healing because we all had a drug issue, and actually it helped us all move on. Well, there was a couple that didn't move on, but a few of us moved on.
Yes. And you know, I find that a lot of us healers and helpers, that's where we've come from. We've come because we've started to heal ourselves, whether it's because we went off track with drink and drugs, or whether we went off track with people, or whether we had a particularly bad childhood, whatever. We always start because we start to want to heal ourselves, don't we?
Yes.
And then when we realize that we can, and when we connect with all these, you know, wonderful ways of being, we're then able to start helping other people. We kind of get our, you know, the key to our lives, don't we? And it unlocks those doors.
Yeah.
What would you say the one question people always ask you then, Willow?
Well, in the main, because I work remotely, so I tend to work with all my clients online like we are now.
Yeah.
People say, well, how's it going to work remotely? Because I'm not even with you. But for me, because it's energy and it's working on people's energetic body and on an energetic level, it actually works better sometimes because firstly, they're in their own environment and they feel really safe.
Yeah.
They haven't had to travel and worry about parking. So they're totally chilled and in the moment already. And I have a yoga mat that has the chakras on it, just for me to really visualize that person in front of me, because I'm more of a feeling person than a visualizer.
Yes.
So that's how I explain to people that that's how it works. But because we're working on these subtle energies, and I believe we're all one and there is no separation, so it doesn't matter whether they're on the other side of the world or they're down the road, it works.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I can, you know, I can vouch for that as well, because was it about a month ago that you rebalanced my chakras? Yeah. And it was really lovely. I was down in Southbourne in my lovely new house, and I just lay down. I had you on loudspeaker, and you know, we went through that process, the meditation, the clearing, and like I said, I'm very good at kind of visualizing things, so I could visualize, but equally I could feel in my body, because I am, you know, we're both connected mofos, aren't we?
Yes. Yeah.
So
I put it, but yeah, that's cool. Yeah.
I'm thinking, what's the way of putting this that way? So yeah, I could really feel it. And from, you know, for me working online, doing my coaching again, I know how much you can help someone. You don't have to be face to face. You can still get that connection and that joy and love and support, like we're doing right now. It's like we're in the same room together, right?
Yeah. It doesn't feel any different, to be honest. It really doesn't.
No. Brilliant.
Yeah.
What would you say your mission in life is?
Ooh, I've got a few missions at the moment.
Yay.
But I think the main one for me is because I had the mental health breakdown in 2015. It was labelled psychosis, which actually was for me a spiritual awakening. It wasn't an illness. Yes, I had to be in hospital for my own safety because of what I was experiencing. But what I really feel is lacking in our medical model in mental health is the ability to allow people to express what they're going through. So it's always seen as a physical illness and a mental illness only. And I've heard of a lot of people asking to go outside or to have a spiritual healer come to them. And of course, that's all just swept away under the carpet because obviously it's a busy world in a institution where people are being cared for and medicated. It's very difficult. I'm sure it's very difficult for the staff to realise that there is this element to it for some people. So I feel like because what I've been through and I've come back, and I think it's been my greatest gift, that it's now time for me to share that with people that don't understand enough about a spiritual awakening and try and bridge that gap for people. So I think that's my main mission, raising awareness that sometimes mental health is actually a spiritual awakening.
Yes, yeah, definitely. Thank you for being so honest and open with us, Willow. It's brilliant.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah.
And I like to, I think, you know, what you said at the beginning with mental health and psychosis and doing drugs is, yes, sometimes it totally shuts us down, and other times it just totally opens our energy up.
Yeah.
And it's too much. Either way, it's too much for us to cope with, isn't it?
Yeah.
And that can happen just through taking drugs. And not even just drugs, alcohol as well. We seem to think that alcohol isn't part of it, but that was probably my main thing. I started drinking at 15 and I gave up about 20 months ago now. And best thing I've ever done. Best thing, as well as having my daughter, but best thing for my life, actually, those two things, having my girl and giving up alcohol, changed my life completely and turned my life around, turned my personality around. I was only talking to my dad this morning. I said, Dad, do you think I'm different now? And he was like, we were having a bit of a laugh. He was like, yeah, there's still room for improvement though, Jane. But we were having a laugh. But he did say, yes, you're so much calmer, you're less stressed. I said, I'm kinder. I am a kinder person now. So yeah, I think all of the substances we kind of put in our bodies really do affect us. And getting back into nature, like you, I was always drawn to be in a park or, you know, out in the proper countryside or even in the back garden, just somewhere with green, you know?
Yeah.
And to get connected again. I think it's so important. So I love your mission, and I know you are going to help so many people.
Thank you.
It's okay, my pleasure. What have you learnt that you wish everybody knew? Yeah,
so for me, that is there are no mistakes. There really are no mistakes. There's just lessons. And if something is going wrong for anybody, it's actually the universe showing you what you really want. It's not actually going wrong. It's going right. And yeah, it would be really awesome if everybody could perceive that vision of my life isn't a mess, it's just changing. and it's going to be better and more awesome if you allow that change to take place. Because when you resist that change, that's when it becomes really awful and tangled and hard to get out of, because people have maybe missed the signs or missed the lesson that's being shown.
Yeah, that's a great that's a great bit of advice and bit of wisdom, really. And I don't know about you, but when I wasn't listening, I'm very turned on now and kind of tuned into what the universe is showing me. But before, when I wasn't, I would have the same things, the same situations repeat themselves on me. The same negative things happen, and it was the universe going, Jane, wake up. Here's this message again. We're trying to give you this message. You're not listening. We're trying to give you this message.
Yeah.
And when I kind of awoke from that dream and into this wonderful dream, I could see the messages coming to me, and all of those, failures or bad stuff that would happen. It was just messages trying to put me back on the right course.
Yes. I've got a really short example of that. So,
please tell us.
Yeah, so probably about 18 months ago, as you know, I'm in the middle of getting divorced, but 18 months ago, when we were still getting on, I'd fully recovered, and my partner, who's quite a lot older than me, we had a scare with cancer, and he's now fully recovered from that, which I believe is partly to do with all the shaman people I know holding in their medicine, and of course positivity. Yes. We decided that, as he'd been told he might not be here in 5 years' time, which we didn't really believe, that the best thing for us to do would be to sell up where we are in Buckinghamshire and move to Somerset and make a load of money and go to live in a detached house. So we found this super dream home detached house, which was just perfect for us and our dogs. And I did a kind of ritual for this house to sell. I told it how much we loved it and how much it had served its purpose, but it was time for us to move on.
Yeah.
And that was on the Friday. It went on the market on the Saturday, and we had a viewer on the Sunday and an offer on the Monday. And I was like, oh my God, is this is obviously what's meant to happen? But a week later, these people pulled out. And I sat with that for a while, and I thought, this isn't right. Something isn't right here. And from then on, we had about 4 or 5 other people look at it who said they were interested, but nothing happened. And even the solicitor kept saying, not the solicitor, sorry, the estate agent kept saying,
get this. Yeah.
I don't understand what is happening here. And I kind of thought, well, I do understand what is happening here. And interestingly, it just completely fell apart. My husband fell out with the guy because he'd put a sign up when we'd asked him not to. And so all our neighbours were like, are you moving? And we're like, oh God, we didn't want that. We didn't want that to come up. So it all started to change. And from that moment on, our relationship changed. And thank you, universe, because if we'd moved down there, I'd have been even more lonely, even more isolated, and we'd have taken out all the collateral from the house, and we probably would have spent it on holidays and stuff, and we'd have had nothing left. And then I'd have not joined where I was in the coaching group with you, and it would have all been a completely different world. So it
would indeed. How amazing is that?
Yeah. So it's just listening and not going, I want that. You've just got to go with what you're being given and be grateful for what's now.
Yeah, definitely. We've got a question from Isabel. What's the best way for people to recognize that chakras are not aligned, and then how do you align them?
Okay.
And hello, Ken. If you've got a question, please pop us a question.
Yeah. So for me, when they're not aligned, it means that there's negativity coming up in the body. There's either heavy energy.
Yeah.
So you feel heavy, you feel drained, you feel anxious. You may just feel like your personal power's low and you feel really vulnerable and you can't get your voice across. All of those are indicators that something is going on with the energy system.
Yeah.
And for me, the way to balance them, if nobody has any knowledge of their energy centre, is literally to just get outside on the earth. Or if you can't get outside on the earth, but your feet flat on the earth, wherever you are, and just imagine you're connecting with the earth. So, I mean, all this, like, all around is like is a construct of buildings and places, but we are still always on the earth. And I think a lot of people forget that. So it's just really, and asking the body, asking the energy centres, what is it I need to do today to allow me to feel more balanced? That's a really good question to ask.
That is a beautiful, go on, repeat that for everybody.
So
lovely.
Just connect to your entire body with your feet flat on the floor, palms up, and just say to your body, what is it I need to do today to make me feel more balanced? And it will let you know. The body's awesome at letting you know. You've just got to have that third ear for listening.
Yeah, you've got to be quiet enough, haven't you? You've got to stop.
Yes.
And be quiet enough to actually listen, because we're getting answers all the time, aren't we?
Yeah.
But we just don't bloody listen.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not until our body's in such bad physical pain that we start listening, and I'm the opposite. So I had, a few days ago, I had a little twinge in my back, and I thought this is to do with the emotions at the moment, because it was down behind the sacrum, which is our emotional centre. And then I was at a spirituality meeting yesterday where I share some of my story like I have today, but in a more deeper manner. And as I was sharing it, my back started to hurt. So I really listened to that, and instead of going rushing about, I came home and I gave my back some attention with some tiger balm, and I rested and allowed it to heal, and it's actually thanked me today because it feels stronger.
Yes, and that's a perfect example of how you can see where the chakras are out of alignment and then bringing them back into alignment.
Yeah.
Perfect. I hope that's answered your question, Isabel, and please do chuck us any more questions as we go. Well, this leads us perfectly onto the next question, which is, how do you cherish yourself?
Yeah, so since having been someone that probably didn't cherish myself enough, that didn't think I was good enough, and that's why I did lots of drugs, because I thought if I do loads of drugs, at least I can hide my flaws and hide the things that are good about me too. So now I honour myself in loads of ways, physically, mentally, spiritually and emotionally. So I make time for myself every day, for me and my dogs, to go outside in nature. And I get all my lessons from nature. So I watch nature and then I learn from it. I like to pamper myself.
Oh, could you tell us a little bit more about that?
Yes.
Watching nature and learning from it, because that is beautiful.
Yes. So I was watching the frogs in the pond. Now, I've always seen the frogs and I've always seen the frogs spawn, but I've never seen the frogs spawning until this year, and it was awesome. So all these frogs were spawning and mating at the same time. So I guess that's how they do what they do.
Yes.
And what I noticed was that none of them were worried. So some of them actually died in this process, but none of them were worried about what was going on. They just wanted to bring more life. And I think that's sometimes what we worry about as humans. Oh, it's not the right time, or I shouldn't be doing this. And they weren't worried about that at all. And when they'd finished it and they made the most beautiful noise, and the ducks were in the pond as well, and the ducks were giving them a wide berth.
Giving them the space they needed.
Giving them the space they needed. And actually, while I was gently watching from a distance, a few frogs popped up round the edge, which were obviously spotting for predators. And they were giving me the eye as if to say, I hope you're not a predator, because obviously they're watching for herons and things like that. And it was just how they were all working together. There was no arguing, there was no competition, and there was no, I'm more important than anyone else. And I just love that, because I think humans can learn so much from that simple act of nature. And there was no embarrassment either. There was no embarrassment that someone was watching what they were doing.
I mean,
it's
thighs are too big. Oh.
Yeah,
none of that.
No, and of course that's not allowed, is it? In this world, we're not allowed to express ourselves that are fully in nature, or we get arrested. And that's something, that's something I find difficult myself, because I like to just lay down in nature, and quite often someone will be walking their dog and they'll shout over to me, "Are you okay?" And I'm like, "Yeah, never better. I'm laying down in nature." So I think we need more people getting out there and just laying soft belly on the earth and letting all their emotions go back into the earth.
That's beautiful. That's another really good way of letting go. Letting go and realigning those chakras.
It's no surprise that our children, when they have tantrums, lay belly down on the earth. They quite often do, don't they?
They do. Most of the time they do. And when they're standing up and not doing it, they're protecting this area. So, with their tantrumy stuff. So that's interesting. That's good. The kind of things that I do to cherish myself, it is about, as well for me, getting out in nature and getting that connection. And a lot of silent time, actually. Time where, even if I'm driving, I don't have the radio on. Someone said to me, "Oh, you do loads of driving. You must have a wicked podcast." I'm like, no. Most of the time, I drive in absolute silence, because for me, the world is quite a noisy place. I do a lot of work online and a lot of work on Facebook, and there's a lot of noise that you can kind of choose in and out of. Also, I'm in London a lot of the time. I have got my house now down in Dorset, which is much quieter, but it's like there's so much bombarding us on, screen times, and also, generally when you walk outside of your house, your property, and it can get too much. So a lot of my me time is silence. So whether that be driving in my car in silence, whether that be me going to swimming, sauna, jacuzzi, and that is quite silent for me. But I have some wicked conversations with people. But it's choosing what is going to be right for you to cherish yourself and give back to yourself. But I do think, like, nature and stuff like that, and quiet time is the key. I enjoy quiet time. So what I find is a really good thing to do, and if anybody's got pets, they could probably do this too. So if anybody struggles with letting go of that mind talk, when you lay with the pet, especially a large dog, their breathing is very distinct, and it's really good if some people struggle to connect to their own breath, because obviously their mind is then going. So what I do is I connect to my dog's breath, and the more I connect to my dog's breath, the more deeper a state of mind, or deeper in the journey I go on, and I feel my dog come with me. So we begin to breathe almost in harmony and in unison, and it's just so beautiful. So I've got 2 dogs. One's a little bit more high energy than the other. So we bring him in as well, and he's the same. So all 3 of us, and it's lovely because we've got a masculine and 2 feminine, and it just brings around this gorgeous energy. So we let Leslie lead because she's the oldest and the wisest. She's 15 this year, which makes her older than me. So she leads, and we follow her, and we call her the wise one anyway. And she brings us both into that awesome state of Zen, really. So that is absolutely lovely.
So always ask your pets. If you're not able to tune into your body, tune into your pet, and you'll soon get there.
Definitely. I mean, even your children God, Scarlett comes out with some amazing one-liners, and whenever we do our wishes and things like that, the flow that comes out of her own prayer, her own whatever, I'm blown away every time. Like, yes, we're namaste to that, amen to that, you know.
Oh, I love
Let's
that.
wish that one in.
Yeah, I can't wait for my great nephew Noah to start telling us stuff, because I've known since I met him. I said to him, "You're going to tell us so much stuff, aren't you, Noah?" So yeah, he's awesome.
How have you transformed?
Oh, in many, many ways. So I've transformed from being someone that I was always quite a positive person. In fact, a lot of my friends used to call me the deep geek and say, "Oh, you're way too deep for us and you're so geeky." And I used to see that as an insult. So I've transformed now, realising actually all the things that everybody put me down for before was because I couldn't see in me what the beauty of that was. So as we know, if we put ourselves down, it gives everyone else permission to do that as well. So now I've transformed, whereas I am my own cheerleader, my own best friend. And if I'm not telling myself it's all good, no one else is going to really. So that's how I've transformed. I've turned my life around by just listening to myself and being quite selfless, to be honest. I used to listen to all of my family, all of my friends and my husband, and then I thought that I was the worst person in the world. Now I listen to me, all my world changes around me. And there's a beautiful story here. So as you know, when I joined your group in November last year, I think it was November, even when I look back at the videos I made, I was like this quiet person whispering into the screen because I was scared to make a noise in my own home because this is my husband's house. And because I started to realise that the only way I was going to get out of this marriage was by throwing unconditional love back at it. Because, of course, what we normally do in relationships when they're ending is we get angry with each other and there's blame and lack of forgiveness. So I thought the only way out of this is to pour loads of love onto it, be really forgiving, be really real, and be able to receive, which is something you helped me to do. That, okay, this relationship's over, but I'm still needing to receive things here to get through that. So I think that's how I've transformed, by not just being positive for everybody else, being positive for me first, and watching those ripples come back and forth. And actually, as of today, my life is really, really good because of that unconditional love and forgiveness that I've allowed myself and my ex-partner.
Yeah.
I feel all emotional now.
Yay! Good. It is amazing. It's an amazing journey that you've been on and that you're on right now. And the last couple of years, I've really been feeling into and practicing unconditional love, like yourself. And it's such a journey, isn't it?
It is, yeah. It's not easy, but then no journey that's going to get you somewhere awesomely beautiful is going to be easy, is it? It's just step by step, and sometimes you have to stop and pause. I think that's what a lot of people forget, and myself too. I'm guilty of this. I kept thinking it was a race, especially when I joined the coaching people. I thought, oh my God, everybody's doing this now. I've got to get there. I've known this stuff since 2006, so I should be there by now. And as soon as I dropped that bullshit, things started to change. And even though I'm not very abundant in cash at the moment, I'm abundant in everything else. Everything I have is free. Even to the point that one of my spiritual friends said to me the other day, you reached out in a group and you said you haven't been able to cry, and you said you're not having any fresh food because of the situation at home. And they invited me around to their house and they had 2 bags of fresh food for me. And I said, why have you done this for me? They said, you are one of the most generous people we know. When you had things and you're getting it all back now. And that is exactly how it feels. So I've got a free gym pass for 2 months to go swimming. I've got a free walking group, a free art group, a free music group, and I run these spirituality groups, and I'm actually getting paid for that, which I couldn't believe.
Yes.
So yes, getting paid for doing something that I absolutely love. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that is brilliant.
Yeah.
That's really, really good. And it's I think it's going to be lovely for people to come on board and watch this and see how much you have transformed, and how it doesn't have to be about the money. The money comes. It's about the love. It's about the connection, and about the self-worth. And you start bringing that up, and you start receiving, and you're going to start receiving in things that you can accept immediately, if you know what I mean. And then you build it up. Whereas if someone was to like give you a ton of money straight away, it would probably freak you out a bit.
Yeah, my fear there would be, oh my God, I've got loads of money now. Am I going to go and do things I shouldn't? So there is that as well, you know. And that is, I think that's the fear for a lot of people that have had addiction.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, for myself, obviously, if I had children, that wouldn't even come into my head. And that's sometimes, dogs are different. Dogs aren't judging, are they? Or they don't need to get to school in the morning and stuff like that. So there is that. That is interesting you say that. So as you know, I'm a very open and honest person, and I believe sharing our fears and our greatness is really important. So this is why I feel all these things are coming to me for free at the moment, because perhaps there's just this little bit of me that while I'm in this divorce is a little bit unsettled, and the universe is just protecting me, because if it gives me loads of money right now, maybe I will get overwhelmed and have a mad crazy weekend, and that won't do me or my clients any good. So that's what I'm sitting with at the moment, is that I have everything I need, and I'm just grateful for what I've got.
Yeah, definitely. And I always I'm constantly kind of reminding my daughter and those around me and coaching clients that abundance isn't money.
No, it's not.
Abundance,
before money was invented, abundance abundance was 2 goats, a couple of cows, a few chickens, a bit of land, and corn. That was their abundance. So yeah.
And when recently, you know, there's been a couple of people say, oh, I don't have this huge goal, I just want to be healthy and happy.
Awesome.
That is the best goal in the world.
Yeah.
You know, I can work with people that say their goal is, you know, I want to make 5-10 grand a month. I can totally do that. But what I really love working with are the people that say, you know, I want to change my life, I want to be happy, I want to be healthy, I want to have better relationships. Then I'm like, oh, good, let's go.
Yeah.
What kind of issues, problems, whatever, do you get drawn to helping with?
What, with my clients, do you mean?
Yeah, with your clients.
So all different, to be honest, and that's why I love the energy work, because it is all different. So it can be from someone that's lacking in trust of themselves, and then we do some shamanic work, because that helps them. So in the shaman work, it's giving it back to nature and then letting your own body re-inform you. So it's kind of bringing in that imprint of who we're becoming in the shaman work. And in the energy centers work, what I do is I tend to bring in a small visualization as well. So we work on the energy centers, and I can feel with the pendulum where there is lack, or where there is maybe too much giving. So because I've worked with a lot of the people that are in our coaching business, who, as you know, are all giving service to others, what comes up is their emotional center is very open and very giving, and their heart is very open and giving, but their personal power might be low, because they're so giving to everybody else that they've kind of extended that energy and they've not kept any for themselves. Which is really important, isn't it?
Yeah, it's really important.
You know, there's that analogy that I think some of the coaches use where we are is on a plane when the breathing apparatus drops down, you have to make sure that yours is on before you put your children's or the elderly people's on, because otherwise you're not going to be able to help them when you've passed out.
Yeah.
So yeah, that seems to be the main theme that comes up, is self-love, for people to remind themselves that they're not an extendable source for everybody else. They've got to refill their glass first.
Beautiful, Willow. One last question. As you know, the company, my business really is Cherish, Transform, Upgrade. So we've learned how you cherish yourself. We've learned how you've transformed your life. How have you upgraded your life?
Yeah, so I would say, so early, around this time last year is when I joined a coaching company, and I can truly say that they've helped me get my mind sabotaging thoughts out the way, and they've helped me see that I can actually be successful in business quicker than I would have done it on my own.
Yeah.
But upgrading wise has been more to do with the shaman stuff and being in your group. So the shaman stuff's awesome, but we did 20 days over 1 year on 5-day stints. So there was a lot of processing time and practicing time in between. But the real upgrading that I've got is from being in your group, because it's originally, it was, as we know, was 2 days a week that we had to participate and do our videos. And doing videos for me was really out of my comfort zone. But looking back on, that's awesome. I remember hearing that footballers do this to make their performance better. They watch themselves play and look at where they could get better. So I was thinking, when you ask us to review our videos, it's awesome, because not only can you see what you've achieved, you can actually, I look like a different person. I feel and sound like a different person.
That is why I love you guys doing the video, even if you just the first video and the last video and the rest paper, that's fine.
Yeah.
But it's, you can actually physically see a difference, can't you? Even within a month, let alone the 4 or 5 months that you've been on it.
And it just gives me so much focus to upgrade, because I've always been a bit like that, because that's, again, coming back to my friends calling me a deep geek. They said, why do you think you're better than us in your life? It's always came across like that. Why do you think you're better than us? I don't think I'm better than you. I just don't want to be doing drugs for the rest of my life. Sorry. And one girl got really fired up about it and actually had a real go at me once. And I said to her, look, with all respect, you've got your own business, but it's not thriving because of what you're doing. I'd love to have my own business, but I don't have the guts. And you've got the guts, maybe, you know, not fully, but that's what you're doing. And I said to her, look, I said, I don't necessarily believe in the afterlife or heaven. At the time I didn't. But I don't want to go to heaven and St. Peter at the pearly gates say to me, did you have an awesome life, Willow? And I'd go, yeah, it was great. And he'd say, did you achieve something? I'd go, no. Can I go back, please? And that's where I was sitting. So they kind of all thought that I was trying to be better than them, but I just wanted to better myself.
Yeah.
And I hear constantly at the moment older people, adults, saying, oh, this young generation is so full of themselves. Good, because my generation wasn't allowed to be full of themselves. We had to conform and listen and do what we were told. And it didn't make us into good adults. And I wonder why in the 90s everybody wanted to do drugs.
Everyone got on it.
Yes. And this comes up in our shaman group. Our leaders always saying how all young people are on drugs. Well, I'm not bloody surprised. And if they want to be full of themselves and self-obsessed, let them. Because it's better to be self-obsessed than looking up to a celebrity that probably is not like that in their real life.
Yeah.
So, you know, it's better to be self-obsessed and full of yourself, because you can't be anybody else.
No. Keep that connection and allow yourself to transform and upgrade in many different areas of your life.
Yeah.
And it is getting, I believe it's getting that self-confidence and self-worth, and then you're able to do things like you know, do videos,
Yeah.
do a business, have better relationships, whatever it is.
Yes.
Just have more confidence, don't you?
Yes, definitely. Yeah, and better relationships is awesome, because I didn't want to leave here after being with my husband for 7 years. He helped me through my psychosis. I helped him through his cancer. I don't get this splitting up with someone and then they're the worst person in the world. I don't get that. I've always stayed friends with most of my exes, and I don't want this to be any different. I mean, we might drift apart in different lives, that's fine, but I don't want to have to walk down the street and cross the street because there's someone coming that I don't like. Because we don't need enemies. We just don't need enemies.
We don't. If we live our lives through love and through the vision of love, then you don't get that, and you're able to understand people.
Yes.
And like you say, when you give that unconditional love, without the other party even realizing it, their whole energy changes.
Yes.
And the dynamics change, and you're not like this anymore. You're just you float over each other.
Yeah, absolutely. And someone was talking to me at one of our coaching days the other day, and they'd fallen out with a friend. And I said, well, I don't like to be blunt, but I'm just being firm and fair. The word friend does have the word end in it. And they went, I've never thought of it like that. And I'm one of these people that believes that people come into your lives for reasons, seasons, or lifetimes.
Yes.
And sometimes there's a lesson to be learned from why that relationship has ended.
Yes.
Yeah.
Definitely. Is there anything else you'd like to say about the chakra systems, about energy? We're obviously going to put a link to your page underneath here for people to click and get in touch and get more information from you.
Yeah, sure.
But anything you'd like to say before we go?
Yeah, I just like to say, is there anybody that's listening that's really, really interested in connecting to their energy, then, you know, whether you seek me out or whether you just seek out for yourself, just think of a rainbow, eat a rainbow, be a rainbow, wear rainbow colours, anything to connect with colour, because the world can be so black and white, can't it?
And so grey.
Yeah. And it's just about really being centered as well, and listening to your body. That's so important, and it's hard to switch off the mind, I know, but once you practice regularly, the mind, the gut informs the heart, and then the idea pops into the brain. I think I said to you in one of my videos recently, this might be the thing that answers the questions and gets the ideas and puts the actions out there, but it's the heart and the gut that are running the show. The body is informing the mind. And for 90, I don't know how many % of the planet, but for a lot of the planet, the mind's informing the body, and then people are wondering why they're ending up down a hole, at a block, or completely overwhelmed. So yeah, it's really about listening to the body.
Yeah. Well, Willow, it's been an absolute pleasure to do this interview. Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you.
I would really recommend getting in touch with Willow if you're interested in energies and learning more about the chakra system and kind of clearing and getting aligned. We're going to put details underneath, and we're going to put details of my upcoming Confident You course as well, which is more mindset coaching and getting you to be really confident in all areas of your life. So we'll put the links below here then.
Lovely. Thank you so much.
See you soon, Willow. Thank you.
See you soon. Thank you.
Namaste.
Namaste. Have a lovely afternoon.
And you.
Cheers.
Bye, darling.
Bye.
Bye. And thank you, Isabel and Ken, and everybody else for watching as well.
Oh, yes. Thanks for the question. That was an awesome question, Isabel. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah. Awesome. Cheers.